everyone, Emily here from Emily Reads. Today on this Friday, I hope everyone is warm and safe. Yesterday, central Illinois, where I live, we had a nice snowstorm. We had 9.5 inches of snow. And one of the interstates that I live like 2 minutes away from, maybe 5 minutes tops, had a 100 car pileup. So I've been staying home. Yesterday, school was canceled. Parent-teacher conferences were held via Zoom. Today we had more parent-teacher conferences held via Zoom, straight up from my living room. First time for everything. Also had my post-conference for my formal observation again in my living room. First for everything. But that's what winter weather in central Illinois will do for you. So I figured, since I have a nice long weekend, that I would do some filling of videos. So today, or right now at least, the first video that I'm filming is going to be my review of Stormfront by Jim Butcher. Now, I had started reading this a while ago, and then I just put it aside for other things. I picked it back up again recently because I was reading Children of Dune, which I'm enjoying. I've got about 130 pages left. But I had to stop reading Children of Dune for a little bit because I was just coming home from work exhausted. I had 3 IEP meetings within the span of a week. I have another one coming up next week. I had my formal observation. I had grades due. I had parent-teacher conferences. And it was just one big thing after another, and I just was not getting breaks. I was coming home exhausted, and my mind could not handle reading Children of Dune. So I remembered, I had started Stormfront. Let's read that. So I finished reading this, and I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was fine. It was good, but it was not great. It was enjoyable. It was what I needed at the time. So if you're not familiar with Stormfront, Jim Butcher, this is the first book in the Dresden Files. From what I understand, it is a 17-book series, and at the center, the main character is Harry Dresden, who is a wizard. I'm going to put the book down now. He advertises himself in the Yellow Pages as a wizard for hire. So he's very open and out in the world as a wizard, and he's the only wizard in Chicago. He not only takes private investigation cases, he also is a consultant with the Special Investigation Unit for the Chicago PD, headed up by Karen Murphy. And so, in addition, he has a cat named Mister. He lives with Bob, who is a talking skull, and apparently, Bob is some kind of creature that has been captured inside a skull. I don't quite remember if we got an explanation about this or not, but he somehow has been captured inside this skull, and every so often Harry lets him out. It sounds like to me that Bob had once been human and somehow is still alive. I could be wrong. If someone knows more about Bob that's not spoilery, please let me know in the comments. Like I said, I've only read Stormfront, so she's got a cat named Mister. Bob the Talking Skull. Harry will get help from a fairy called Toot Toot, who apparently fairies don't have very good memories, and so Harry's able to trick Toot every single time in basically making a circle, having Toot Toot eat the food in the circle, and he's captured inside the circle, and he can't be let free until he agrees to help Harry with whatever task Harry needs his help on, and Toot Toot will get paid with pizza. So Harry, at the beginning of this novel, he is hired by Karen Murphy to help to consult on a case where 2 people are are found murdered. They were in the middle of sexual activity, and they are murdered by getting their hearts ripped out of their chest. So Karen Murphy, looking at the scene, is like, clearly this is something magical, something otherworldly. We need Harry's help. On his way back from that, he is detained by some thugs who work for the local mob boss. I cannot remember his name. And basically, they kind of warn Harry off from things. And he's also hired by Monica Sells to locate her missing husband. And so the big mystery in this novel is, are these three things connected? If they are, how are they connected? What's going to happen with all these three things? Now, a couple of things. One, Harry's not very intelligent. A lot of the trouble that he gets into is because he just doesn't communicate with people his plans and what's going to happen and what he thinks should happen and the information that he has. So he doesn't tell Karen Murphy some things, which, had he told her some of the things, he wouldn't have gotten into some of the trouble that he got into. But that trouble helps kind of drive forward the plot and just gives him some magical escapades to go through. In addition, for his backstory, he's kind of on watch with the White Council, who is like some magical ruling, I can say this, it's the wizardly ruling council. So Harry did something in his past, and he's put on watch, and basically Harry cannot make any kind of misstep, because if he does, he'll be put to death. And he's got Morgan, who is kind of, from what I understand, he's on the White Council, he watches over Harry, and Morgan basically wants Harry to trip up and mess up. Another thing with this book that a lot of people complain about on YouTube is that there is a male gaze in here. Basically meaning Harry makes a lot of comments on physical attributes of women. Their legs, their face, their hair, other body parts. And for many, that can be problematic. And that is definitely one valid interpretation. For me, I noticed the male gaze, and I think I noticed it more because I was looking for it, having heard chatter about that, but also how I interpreted it is it's more of a convention of the genre. So Harry Potter, I almost called this Harry Potter. Harry Dresden is written very much in this style of like the noir detective gumshoe kind of things, where like I picture, the private eye sitting in his office, and it's black and white, and you've got the door that you kind of like, it's not opaque, but like where you can like see the silhouette of the woman standing outside, and they come sneaking in, and like, I need to hire you to watch my husband, kind of thing. So very much like Dashiell Hammett, like that. So in that genre, that like male gaze feature, it's there. It's pretty prominent in that. Does it play well for modern audiences? No. But every instance that we have that male gaze, there's always like a treatment where Harry talks about the woman's vulnerabilities, and not like that they're physically weak, but the women have some things in their lives that have caused them hurt, that have damaged them. I just think of particular, there's a vampire named Bianca that he interacts with, and there's a moment, so wizards, when they look at you in the eye, there's a moment where like they can like see into your soul and your vulnerabilities, and he has that moment with Bianca, and seeing that he then treats her with care, because he sees where she's coming from and what she's feeling and where she's hurting, and he has compassion for her, and he has that compassion for all the women. And also he respects Karen Murphy. He respects, and I can't remember her name, there is a woman reporter that he's trying to date, but he also has tremendous respect for, that I felt he had tremendous respect for, her intelligence and her drive and her like tenacity in trying to get a story, and he's trying to outwit her, because he doesn't want her to know what's going on with this case. For more, this is not spoilery, but this is kind of, so here's why I also feel the way that like I feel about the male gaze and Harry, my interpretation. Towards the end of the book, at the climax of the book, Harry is battling the villain, and he is struggling with his anger towards everything that's going on, and like how can he unleash his power, and he wants to unleash his power like full vengeance on this villain. And so this is what he says. He says, a man's magic demonstrates what sort of person he is, what is held most deeply inside of him. There is no truer gauge of a man's character than the way in which he employs his strength, his power. Wizards control their power. They don't let it control them. And wizards don't use magic to kill people. They use it to discover, to protect, to mend, to help, not to destroy. And the anger abruptly evaporated. The burning hate subsided, leaving my head clear enough to think again. So for me, when I read that, to me, I felt like that was a commentary on men and how men are to use their power. So that to me is how I interpreted that was like that's a social commentary and a social indictment against men who use their power to harm other men and women and children. So that's my take on that. Overall, I enjoyed it. What I had a hard time with, I will say this, is so I also started watching the Dresden Files. It's on Amazon Prime, IMDb, and so I watched the first episode, and the Dresden Files Book 1 and Dresden Files Episode 1 are two radically different things. I did not picture Dresden how I pictured him in my mind. The actor. Bob, the character, I was like, I don't picture him as like a full-formed human being out of the skull. Like, what is that? In addition, like, Harry at the beginning of the episode, it's like hooked up with a waitress, and Harry in the book is very awkward with women, and it's kind of, he's the butt of jokes because he does not have a relationship with women and does not know how to navigate that. So bear in mind, if you also decide to watch the Dresden Files, or if you have watched the Dresden Files, the book and the TV series are two radically different things. I don't know if they align up at all further down the road because I've only watched one episode. I've only read one book. Also, I will say this, I was kind of disappointed with the fact that, so I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago. I've lived in the Chicago area for 35 years. And so I was expecting, and given that Harry lives in Chicago, like, Chicago is a character of itself. And so, like, I was expecting more, like, landmark dropping, or street names, or anything that would make Chicago more present in the novel. We did mention, like, he talks about driving around Lake Michigan to get to, like, a cabin, but that was about it. Beyond that, and even with that, there's so many towns and cities alongside Lake Michigan. I felt like this story really could have taken place in any city near Lake Michigan. So that was kind of disappointing. I've been told by people that in chatting among different other booktubers discords, I've been told that when Jim Butcher wrote this first book, he had never been to Chicago, so he didn't really know anything about Chicago. And it shows, because Chicago's there, but it's not really a big feature of the story. So I'm looking forward to, I do plan on continuing with this series. I managed to find at my local library, and I've shared with some of my book hauls, I managed to find 8 or 9 of these Dresden File books in paperback for $1. So I do plan on continuing to read with the book. I'm curious to see how Harry is developed. I've heard that, be patient, the first 2 books are okay, but things will pick up and will get better. And so I'm curious to see how Harry will develop as a character. I'm curious to see how Chicago becomes more prominent in this story, because, like I said, I grew up in the Chicago area, and for sure, because I lived in the suburbs, for sure there are parts of Chicago that I don't know because I haven't explored it. Chicago is a huge city, and I hate driving in Chicago, so because of that, there's tons of places I have not explored. So it'll be interesting to see, like, what Butcher will describe and talk about. So those are just my thoughts on Stormfront and the Dresden Files so far. Like I said, I do plan to continue reading them. They'll probably be scattered here and there throughout the year, just as good palate cleansers between some of those big, epic fantasy books that I'm reading, like, and science fiction books, like, scattered between Dune and Robin Hobb and Brandon Sanderson's. So thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. Let me know how you found Dresden Files, Jim Butcher. Please keep comments spoiler free, simply because, like I said, I've only read this book, so I don't want to be spoiled for what is to come in the rest of the series. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.